What kind of secrets could a child of Esther's age possibly have that would be a cause for concern? My name is Sarah, and I just love to talk about movies. Over the past week, the temperature has dropped by like 30 degrees here in Philly, and I am always cold. But that is not the point of this video. Today, I wanted to talk about Orphan. Now, Orphan came out a while ago, but they recently released a sort of like a prequel to Orphan, I think last year, called Orphan First Kill. I rewatched Orphan because I remembered how much I liked that movie and how many original and unique details were there, so I decided to revisit it. In the first installment, we have a couple that has gone through a very serious series of tragic events in their marriage and that have deeply affected their relationship with each other and with their kids. So we're meeting Kate and John. Those are our two main protagonists, who are a very dynamic set of characters. Very upper class. She was a professor and a composer. He is an architect. They already have 2 children, and Kate recently suffered from a miscarriage. At this point in their marriage, they are looking to reconnect and are in the process of adopting a child. So they've gone through like initial interviews and home visits and all that kind of stuff, and they're at the point now where they are spending time, identifying a child that might be a good fit for their family. And that is where they meet Esther. So Esther is a very interesting character. The first time we meet her, she is painting a pretty advanced type of picture, and through her conversation with them reveals a deeper, thoughtful story behind the painting. And of course, the connection is very strong between her and Kate and John, and they decide to adopt her on the spot. She's supposed to be a very a precocious child, mature beyond her years, having recently gone through a tragedy of her own involving her first adopted parents. And to add a little bit more mystery to her character, she is supposed to be from Estonia. So there is a bit of mystery about her culturally, and as far as like her sense of style and the way that she speaks and certain habits and quirks that she has. And as the story continues, you start to see more and more examples of how she doesn't fit into your expectations as a character in this setting. Kate and John are over the moon. They're so happy. They're starting to reconnect as a couple. That's when these little incidents start to happen that start to very slowly push them apart. If you've ever seen The Bad Seed or The Good Son, you'll know what I mean. For example, her and another girl at her school are not vibing, and there's an incident and the little girl's leg is broken. One of the nuns that runs the orphanage where Esther is from starts to do a little bit more research after the incident at the school and realizes that they don't have as much information on her as they would have liked before allowing her to be adopted. So that kind of starts us on this a kind of a thrill ride, because what kind of secrets could a child of Esther's age possibly have that would be a cause for concern? Kate is disturbed by a lot of Esther's behaviors. She feels like she hasn't been truthful, that she's been deceiving them in different ways, and wants to know more about where she came from and about her past. And she does a bit more digging and finds out that Esther's family died under mysterious circumstances and that her family may be in danger. She decides to confront Esther and tell her husband what her suspicions are, but because of the groundwork that's been laid, that's been pushing them apart, he sort of rejects her suspicions. And there's another really critical event that takes the focus entirely off of Esther. I'm kind of glossing over a lot because a lot happens in this movie. It moves pretty quickly and you get a lot of character development. There's a lot of things to absorb that happen very quickly. She learns the truth. So eventually there is a final confrontation between her and Esther. Isabelle playing Esther does it so well because she has created all of these nonverbal communications that are very specific to Esther's character. When she moves from appearing kind of wide-eyed and naive to more mature and knowing, when she decides to become more action-oriented and do some research of her own, how her facial expressions completely change in those moments. For example, when her brother Daniel starts sneaking around because he's not happy with the situation, she is like stealing focus away from him and Max, and he thinks she's weird and he's just not with it at all. Very, very true to his type of character, I would say, as a kid who literally has everything and doesn't understand why his parents wanted to adopt a child, much less someone like Esther. Him being nosy, very true to character. Max, his little sister, being all up under Esther, wanting to imitate her, do what she's doing, and wanting to spend so much time with her is also understandable to her character. So all of these characters feel authentic and true to their actions and their behaviors in the situation. Even though parts of it may seem a bit far-fetched, it does stay very realistic as far as emotional connections and how they relate to each other. Sometimes in movies in particular where a family are the main cast of characters, chemistry is an issue. And here it's not. It's very seamless. It feels very natural. The kids are going about their normal routines, oftentimes ignoring their parents and just doing whatever they want to do. And that feels very natural in this setting where the kids literally have everything. They have a tree house, they have their own rooms, they have their own hobbies and things that they enjoy. And so do their parents, which is another key detail that sometimes is missing. It's like parents are human beings too, and not their entire life doesn't always revolve around their kids. You know, they have friends, they have hobbies, they have other interests. And in this case, each character has a past, and there are a few surprises and thrills in there as well. For example, later on in the film, you find out a bit of the aftermath that happened after Kate had her miscarriage. She was severely depressed and started drinking, and that affected her ability to work and her ability to take care of the kids when she lost her job. So that creates a lot of depth and history, but we don't have to go into it. It explains why her mother-in-law is always hovering around her and being very critical of her behaviors. It explains why her husband kind of treats her with kid gloves, although he is not innocent in the situation either. And I appreciate how seamlessly those details were added into the story as well. It wasn't all about, we didn't need a full flashback of her, you know, in grief after the miscarriage and her trying to go back to work and all these kinds of things. There's enough details and enough scenes that fill in the blanks for us that we can kind of figure it out without slowing the movie down, because it does move quite quickly. I thought this story was very well organized. The way that the movie begins really lays the groundwork for how realistic and disturbing the story would become with just the opening sequence. Kate is having a nightmare about the last time that she went to the hospital and the circumstances around her miscarriage, which it was so frightening and off-putting, and you realize that some of those events were real and some of them were a part of her nightmare. And that sort of set me up to be much more interested in the story, because it's very different if we're going in like The Good Son, like The Bad Seed, where we're only focused on that character and what they're doing and waiting for other characters to react to the things that they're doing, if that makes any sense. For example, Esther pushed that girl that she was having problems with after she'd been openly bullying her and teasing her. She pushed that girl off the slide and her leg broke, and afterwards we're just sort of waiting to see how the other characters are going to react and what people are going to say. So, Max covered for her and said that she fell. Where was John when this happened? Events like that feel very full, where it's not just like, oh, this girl slipped and fell. It was like, no, John had taken the kids to the park and he was there, busy talking to somebody else. The whole dynamic with that. I think it is well worth a watch or two, and I would give it a 4 out of 5 stars. I think it's very well done, and I would recommend it as a thriller kind of suspenseful movie. But let me know what you guys think. Thank you for joining me here today. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you all next time.